Hey guys, how's it going? Just having some interesting thoughts tonight. Thinking about a couple times in the past where have you ever had like an animal around? Like say, I grew up on a farm, so there was different kinds of animals around, and sometimes they just seemed like a regular animal, and other times they kind of seemed like they liked you, like you had a friend, right? So I remember this. We had sheep, and every once in a while, like, you have a ram. Usually, is like the leader of the flock, and we had one that was aging, and we were trying to replace him, but he was tough, and he, uh, the younger ones we were bringing in couldn't beat him. So they'd stick around for a little while, and then I'd come home from school, and they would go, they'd just be gone, because well, we, we called him Lucifer, because he was just mean, and he was good at protecting the flock. But man, he'd hit all of us, except for me. He didn't get me because I was constantly afraid of this thing. Just the way he looked evil. He was just mean. But every time another one would come in, would be a good replacement for him, and they'd have their time settling it out. He never lost. Every time it was like, everyone's like, all right, we're gonna go back in the house. I'm like, I'm gonna sit and watch this for a while, and I would watch it for hours. They would just go at it, and it was pretty impressive. Even though he was old, he just was so tough, and he would make them quit. And when all the rest of them saw that, they weren't gonna follow that one after a while. So yeah, you had to get rid of him. But one that we had for a while, and we didn't get rid of him for a while. Like, they'll have numbers on their ear tags, but this one had a blue tag. And I was a kid, and they were like, well, what do you want to name him? Because he was kind of like sticking around for a while. So we called him Blue. I did. And Blue, I don't know, he kind of like, I was young, so I was, in and amongst the herd. He kind of like started watching after me, even when I didn't know that he was, right? So anytime I was away from the herd, he'd branch away a little bit because he was kind of like, where are you going? And a lot of times I'd turn around and he'd be like right there. I'm like, what are you doing way over here? He followed me sometimes out into the woods. I didn't even know he was there. Yeah, he was, I'd have to like trick him to make him think I was going to be around where everyone else was, close him in to where he couldn't get out, and I'd have to, he'd hop the fence, he'd get out. So I'd have to like fool him. So he wouldn't see where I was going. Otherwise he'd come out and find me. Yeah. He was a good sheep. Not like a dog or anything like that, but he definitely, could convey concern. And when he was happy, you could totally see it, you know. And it was like, yeah, like he wasn't a pet, you know what I mean? But yeah, but he was none of those things. But he was a friend, It was weird, you know. There was another one we had once. It was like well, I was told not to name him because I couldn't grasp the concept that he was raised for food. So here's a pig, and I'm thinking, oh geez, those are crazy. Yeah, I called him Tom, and seeing firsthand how smart pigs are is really interesting. because he wasn't dirty like I thought, even though he'd get dirty, but he was so smart. He always dug up my mom's flowers. But one interesting thing about him that I totally did not try to do at all was that every day when I went to the end of the driveway to catch the bus to go to school, he on his own started noticing the pattern of when I went and when I would come back. And I'm on the bus getting dropped off one day, and I see all the kids getting close to the one side. And I'm like, what could possibly be there to see? You know? And I look out the window, and there's Tom just sitting at the end of the driveway, just waiting for me. I have no idea how long he was there. He was just there. And from that day, and everyone's like, rolling the windows down. And they're like, what's your pig's name? I'm like, he's Tom. And I walked over to him, and he stood up and just stood next to me. And they were like, why don't you ride him? So I just threw my backpack on, and I was like, oh yeah, let's see. And I thought he was going to push me off right away. And as soon as I got on him and I closed my arms, he took off running straight for the house. And I was barely hanging on. And this thing was just going faster than I could run. So I was just dangling, hanging on the back of this thing. As I heard everyone just laughing as the bus took off. And every day that school year, as long as he was there, he was at the end of the driveway and stood there till I jumped on his back, and he would take me to the house. Till one day, I come there and they're like, where's the pig? And I was like, what do you mean, where is he? He's always there, right? And Tom is gone, but he did show up again later. Yeah, I cried when I had to eat him, but it was, to this point in my life, the tastiest pork chops I'd ever had. Yeah. You could taste the love. Really, you really could. Yeah, he was great. A couple dogs that were psychic almost. Where you could just look at them and they're like, oh, and they know right what you're thinking. You're about to tell them something, but they already know it before you ever have that. It's weird how much they can understand, even while there should be a language barrier. You know what I mean? But there's an understanding. It's very interesting. Outside of the form, it almost seems like it doesn't matter. Or even animals will have a connection, like a freaking dog and a squirrel will be buddies or something, something really odd. It's really interesting if you think about it. Yeah. It's like how you would think that wouldn't even happen. The other day I saw a video where what was it? Moose are usually really dangerous. Well, this moose was blocking traffic because it knew people were going to be on the road. Stopped the car and was tapping the window. And the guy rolled the window down a little bit, and the moose was trying to get he was trying to move, run, but also kind of come on. And the guy got out of his car and followed the moose a quarter of a mile or something to a lake where one of its calves was drowning. And the guy used a boat nearby, paddled out there, helped the baby to the shore. And then the mother came to help the baby. And when it was okay and realized that it was going to be okay, they all just stood there and looked at each other like they had a moment. And then this thing just turned with its baby and walked off thanks. And where normally you'd think you get close to something like that, it could just stomp you to death. because there's nothing stopping it, but like it was able to convey the concern and need and found someone to help. It's really interesting when you think about it. And there's no shortage of those kind of stories. And if you think about your own personal stories of animals you've come in contact with, it just starts to compile up until it's like you could look at it all as coincidence, but when you start to see the amount of it, it seems less likely that it's any sort of coincidence. There's got to be something more to it. Like if you're riding a horse, if you're fearful, the horse might kick you off because it can feel that. So there's got to be some sort of non-verbal, but yet energetic communication where we're constantly speaking at, maybe that we don't even realize we're projecting, yet is totally within their ability of accessing and read it just like, we read a page on a book. It's something that would make sense of it, right? Because it's so widespread. You see it complete amongst the animal kingdom. You see it amongst how they do it with each other. And amongst even different species when they have like these connections where they become like friends. Sometimes even where they're like even beyond the predatory, like I've seen like something that would normally eat a duck become friends with a duck, like a snake and a duck or something, or hanging out. And it's like, what's making it override its natural instincts to either take it or to run from it? How are they getting past that and becoming friends? It's very interesting to be able to do that without even language. It seems like if we could learn that, we could solve a lot of our own problems, huh? Take a little cue from them, figure out how are they doing this. It's more than, it's not a risk-reward thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like where they'll be like buds, they'll like nap together and stuff. Like, how is this? Like a horse and a bunny or something. It's like, how are they even? You know what I mean? How are they doing it? You know what I mean? I like these odd things in the world. Whether they're internal, societal. It's interesting because it's something we can like overlook so quickly. We're just like and not even really think about it. But if you do take a minute to kind of look at it just a little bit, you start to see a whole lot of it around you, or in your memory, or you can look at just America's Funniest Home Videos or something where all those little, someone's taking a little video out of his back porch or something and see something in his backyard. And you could see these examples like all the time of random things that just seem like, whoa, did you see that? I once saw deer that seemed like they were playing tag just out in the woods, right? And it was a nice day, and some were like laying down and kind of like watching the group, and they weren't like just prancing around. They were jumping around, making contact. The other one would realize he did that and then go after him in like some kind of prance dance, and they're running around, but then make contact and be like, you're it. And they were like playing tag. It was weird, but it seemed like for sure they were playing. I had binoculars. I'm looking at it like, holy crap. I watched it for a while, and it was like the only thing I could even think of. They were playing tag, and the rest of them were sitting around watching it. Yeah, interesting, eh? Well, that's a couple stories there. I'll talk to you soon.